Good morning and thank you for your patience. I am Shivani Thakkar, your host for today. I have been part of marketing team at Cygnet.One for the past 2 years and I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar. Today's webinar is focused on an important and practical topic, selecting the right ASP. While many discussions remain theoretical, today's session is designed to give you both a clear perspective and a practical understanding through a live demo. In this session, we will briefly touch upon the key consideration of selecting the right ASP, followed by recent updates that businesses should be aware of. The main highlight of today's webinar will be a live demo where you will see how things work in a real-world scenario. Without further delay, let me introduce our speakers. Mr. Neeraj Hatrisi. Neeraj is a pioneer in digital finance transformation, driving strategic innovation in compliance solution with a focus on VAT and e-invoicing solution globally. Mr. Dipesh Dikshit. Dipesh is a global e-invoicing and SAP pre-sales specialist with a strong expertise in PayPal framework, ERP integration, and digital text transformation, helping enterprises navigate complex compliance requirements across region. Let's make this webinar interactive. Please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section during the webinar and we'll address them at the end of the session. Over to you, Neeraj sir and Dipesh.
Thank you, Shivani. Dipesh, you can move to the next slide. Just a brief background about Cygnet. We are a 25-year-old organization, CMM level 5 approved, multiple ISO certificates, covering more than 40 countries. And in the current year, we'll be covering another 10 to 12 countries for invoicing. So we do invoicing both the people model and the clearance model that is coming directly with the organizations, with the tax authorities. So we support both, and that is our area of expertise. Yeah, next one, Dipesh. The most important question that is something coming in from multiple different clients that we talk about, or prospects that we talk about, that how do we select the right ASP? And in some cases, it's only conversation about the cost, that whoever provides the cheapest, because everybody's pre-approved or approved by the tax authority. So we don't need to bother about it. So cost is a criteria for many of the clients. For some of the clients, what is the type of integrations that they have done? So that is something you need to kind of look at it. And some of the clients who are much larger kind of a footprint, they look at what is the type of experience that you have, what is the brand that you are carrying, and how do you really support our implementation. And some of the limited clients actually understand that this is in future going to go towards the VAT as well, and they want to see that how your e-invoicing and VAT are correlated. So these are the types of questions multiple clients ask us, and we guide them onto the same as well. Next one, Dipesh. Now, the one particular pillar, and the first pillar that I always kind of talk about, is you need to see whether you need data sovereignty or not, and whether you want the data to be kept within the UAE borders. Now, there are two major points which is coming in, that yes, data sovereignty is important. We need all the data within the borders of UAE. But looking to the current situation in UAE, we also need the backups which is outside UAE. So either in Europe or in India or in any other Southeast Asian countries, wherein we have the remote backup if something happens to the data center. So this is a kind of a thought process that you need to cover into it, that this is being taken care of it. Then the technical mandate adherence means technical mandate adherence at a single invoice level or a single test level. It's possible for everybody, but how they do handle the bulk transactions, that is something you need to look at it. Then the functional mandate adherence, and what type of flexibility is the solution providing you to do the functional mandate. So that is also something. And last but not the least is the most important, that audit and retrieval readiness, because all the data, the MLS, the kind of confirmations from the tax authorities, the TDDs, you need to capture at the ASP level, and you need to also have a copy of it, because if the audits come in for you, these are the data points which would be required for you to clear that audit. So who's providing you that facility? That is also a critical part of how you look at it. So that's another area we should look at it. Next one, please. The most important thing is that there are, I would say, I would have come across nearly about 150 to 200 different ERP solutions into UAE. and all of them have a different nuances to it. So some kind of do a API level integration, some do, and because it's a clearance versus reporting model, and in UAE we have a reporting model, is really deep ERP integration required or not required? That is a kind of a decision needs to be taken. If you are smaller volumes, a SFTP based or a flat file integration also will suffice for you. So that's a kind of a thing you need to do. Then for the large volume players, who's really able to scale up their kind of architecture to ensure that your volumes are taken care of it. And the third point is delivery and accountability and predictability TCO. That's something that you need to really check for selecting the right kind of a ASP. Yeah, Dipesh, pillar 3. Now, another area which is, and I have been speaking into multiple forums, multiple events, and with multiple client presentations. And what I have always talked about is that the bigger challenge is purchase invoice digitization. You have the purchase part is going to be more critical over here than reporting your sales invoice, because your sales invoice is still under your control, but your purchases are not. And coming all the purchases coming at a single TRN level or a single team level, how do you distribute within the branches, how do you distribute in other factions? All of these challenges are going to come in. Then the global and cross-functional scalability, because I think already Oman is coming in, Qatar is coming in, then you have Bahrain is already coming in, Saudi is coming in. So how do you have the cross reference or cross functional scalability? That is important for you to look at it. And foundation for tax automation, because overall finally this data is going to go for your tax filing. So how do you do that automation? And what is the AI backed data driven insights that a solution provides? Because that is now critical. Any solution without an AI component into it does not make sense to me today. So that is also something we should look at it. Next slide. Now, these are the three major points that you kind of look at it when you select a long-term partner or a long-term investment into a digital core. The first, ionical functional technical compliance backed by data governance. That is the most important part. The second part is seamless integration and proven performance, because what type of complex integration, what type of experience the client carries or the kind of a ASP carries, that is something that you need to look at it. And future proofing your business from process transformation. This is something, the third one. How much amount of the process transformation uh, is being taken care by the ASP, and how much amount of process transformation you will have to be involved into it. So this is again a third part that needs to be taken care of it. So these are the three major points which actually need to be taken care of for selecting your ASP. Next one. I think this is already I spoke about it. We can go to the next slide. I think Dipesh will take you through the major updates which has been released by the FT and MOF recently, and then he will take it up with the demo as well. I'll be back for the question answer session. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Over to you, Dipesh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neeraj sir, for the wonderful explanation that how we are going to select the ASP and what are the questions that we have to ask from them. Now, FTA has recently come up with the new guidelines where there were so many questions that we were getting from the prospects and from the clients. And as a consultant, also we are receiving multiple questions that how we are going to handle some of the things like the PayPal IDs for the non-PayPal customers or the customers from the phase two, and what are the dummy points would be the export, and for the deemed supply, then what will be the exclusions and how the data would be helping transferring into the intercompany transactions, how they're going to handle it, and it is going to be impacted many of the volume, also the scalability of the also from the invoice sides, right? So related to all those queries, FT has provided the updates, some of the updates, in which first of all they have mentioned that it was clearly mentioned that from the 1st of Jan 2027 e-invoicing has to be mandated, but now they have provided the exclusions for few, for some of the transaction types. For example, the when we are talking about the intercompany transactions, okay, between a single VAT group, so those particular intergroup company transactions has been waived off for the 2 months, sorry, for the 2 years, right? So after 2 years, we have to consider the, or the invoicing transactions will become mandatory for the UAE e-Invoicing. In the same way, when we're talking about the airline cargoes, right, or through which has been transported over through the air by using the airway bill, so those transactions are also excluded for the 24 months for the next 2 years. But again, after next 2 years, it will again become a part of the UAE e-Invoicing, and we have to mandatorily share it with the over the PayPal framework, and we have to report it to the FTA. Then again, they have provided some other details that if we talk about the financial services, the standard rate financial services, which actually we used to provide to the resident customers who are having the VAT numbers or the corporate tax registration numbers, right? They would be a part of the UAE invoicing, and they would be considered as a zero rated itself. But again, as a zero rated is one of the 16 use case scenarios of the UAE invoicing released from the FTA side. So we have to report it to the authority, and we have to transport it over the PayPal framework. And if we talk about the exclusions in that case, then again, there are some sort of imports, okay, related to some of the concerned services and some of the concerned goods on which the RCM is also required. Those particular imports we don't have to include within the UAE e-invoicing. Earlier, it was clearly mentioned that whatever the imports we would be receiving over the PayPal framework or we are receiving over the email, we don't have to report it to the FTA. In the same way, they have provided the list of some of the concerned services and the concerned goods, which has to be excluded from the UAE e-invoicing. After that, they have earlier we had a knowledge that when we talked that every entity within a group registrations within a group TRN has to obtain the TIN number from the FTA. But there were some queries like if we have a single entity, right, and if we don't have a TRN number, but again we are still taking the VAT or we are having the B2B transactions, then how we are going to take the TIN number? In that case also, FTA has clearly mentioned that you have to consider the first 10 digits of your corporate tax registration number to obtain the PayPal ID or to obtain the TIN number, or that has to be considered as a TIN itself to obtain the PayPal ID over the PayPal framework. And again, 0235 will always remain a code of the UAE which has been released by the PayPal. And the PayPal will be the complete onboarding has to be done over the PayPal framework only for the PayPal IDs. In the same way, earlier, as I mentioned earlier also, that we were getting some questions that how we are going to maintain the dummy endpoints for the customers who are part of a phase 2 or for the export or the non-UAE buyers. Do we have to maintain, every dummy endpoint will be separate for each customer or for each export transaction, or do we have to maintain a static PayPal ID within the ERP itself, within the masters itself do those particular transactions? So now FTA has clearly mentioned that these are the PayPal IDs for the deemed supplies. Okay, again, these are the static PayPal IDs that we have to maintain for the deemed supplies also, for the local buyers also who are part of a phase 2, okay, having the turnover less than 50 million dirhams. And then for the export or the non-UAE buyers, this will be again a dummy endpoint or the dummy PayPal ID that we have to maintain at the ERP level itself. In some case, if those particular IDs cannot be maintained at the ERP level, then again, this can be done at the Cygnet ASP solution also, where we would be hard coding those dummy IDs. Earlier, again, we were having so many questions related to the UUID that who will be responsible for the creation of the UUID, whether they have to create the UUID or not. But yes, PayPal, when we are talking about the PayPal AE point, they have clearly mentioned that the UUID has to be created, and now FTA has also clearly mentioned that UUID has to be generated by the ASP, and this UUID basically will be helping you to prevent the duplicacy of the invoice. Okay, so that only single invoice will be going to the FTA portal, and only a single invoice will be transmitting over the PayPal framework, right? There would be no duplicacy, and UUID is going to prevent that particular duplicacy in complete 5-corner model of the UAE invoicing. Now, again, FTA has mentioned or provided the update that in which case we have to use the RCM logics. Okay, and what would be the scenario and what would be the goods where we have to use the RCM for that purpose. Okay, So for that purpose, FTA has clearly mentioned that if the supply is happening between the two VAT registrations, depending upon the goods that we have that on the goods for which the list has been provided by the FTA, which can be the electronic devices, the precious metal and stones, the crude or refined oil, unprocessed or processed natural gas, pure hydrocarbons, or any kind of metal scrap, right? And there is no VAT applied on that particular. In that case only, we have to use the RCM logic, or the RCM will be applicable on those kind of transactions only for those particular applicable goods. Then again, if we talk about, there are some use cases like the deemed supplies and the provision invoices, for which many of the client was asking that how the provisional invoices are going to be handled within the UAE 5 model. Do we have to create the actual invoice on the provisional invoices, or how the data is going to be transmitted or reported to the deemed supplies, as there is no physical invoice in the in the case of the deemed supplies? Do we actually have to report those particular invoices to the FTA and transmitting over them PayPal framework? So there were so many questions and the queries of the client and prospects were there. But now FTA has clearly mentioned that it is mandatory to report the deemed supplies to the FTA, and the transmission has to be done over the PayPal framework itself. Means we would be using the dummy endpoint for the deemed supplies as a corner 3 that we have shown earlier in the deck. Okay, with that, by using that PayPal framework itself, we would be reporting it to the FTA. Now, if we talk about the provisional invoices, then again, there would be no separate schema for the those particular provisional invoices, as it has been clearly mentioned that there are only 16 use case scenarios, right, which includes your export standard, export transaction standard invoices, the commercial invoices. In that case, provisional invoices also will be considered as an standard electronic invoices only. And in case in any future adjustment is required for those particular provisional invoices, then it has to be done through the credit notes only, or any kind of other additional invoices. But again, that again would be a part of the standard invoice also and the standard credit note also. Then again, pre-zone was the another concern of many of the clients and the prospects, that how we are going to enter that who will be the beneficiary, how we are going to show that or maintain the beneficiary details, how we are going to identify that which beneficiary details we have to enter into that for the particular transactions. So now FT has provided the clarity on that. It is basically a kind of a, you can say, a rule of bill from ship to rule. Okay, where we have to enter that wherever we are sending our records, or whosoever is the end user of that particular services or the goods, we have to add the details of that particular end user as a beneficiary details while sending the free zone while sending the transaction of free zone over the PayPal framework and report it to the FTA, and that complete detail would be a part of your electronic XML. Now, there was a question when that how we are going to do the transmission of the invoices over the PayPal framework if the phase 2 customer is not on the PayPal, or they have not taken the voluntarily registration and we don't have the PayPal ID. So now FTA has clearly mentioned that there might be a chance, they have used that particular word, the might word, where that phase 2 customers or those particular customers may require a PDF or paper text invoice to claim the ITC for those particular 6 months gap. Once that particular 6 months gap will be finished, all the phase 2 customers would be on the, all the phase 2 entities would be on the PayPal framework. Then it is not required to maintain the PDF. It is not mandated to maintain the PDF or to receive the invoices over the PDF for the input tax credit. But yes, for the 6 months, they might have to maintain that particular PDF. They have to ask for the PDF from their vendors to claim the ITC for that particular 6 months. Right, and after that, there might be a chance that once all the entities, all the businesses would be on the PayPal framework after the phase 2 go live date, then there might be a chance, or there will be a mandatory mandate that only ITC of those invoices will be applicable, or you would be able to claim the ITC of those invoices only which you have been received over the PEPAL framework into the XML format. In that, after those particular 6 months or after July 2027, FTA won't be considering any kind of PDF or PDF invoices or the any kind of email invoices to claim the ITC. They would be considering the ITC proof as an XML only, which has been received over the PEPAL framework. Then again, there was so many concerns related to the self-billing also. Many of them earlier used to say that when we are talking about the import, so we have to report it to the FTA by creating a self-billing. But that was clearly not the scenario. Okay, and FTA has also mentioned that particular part that self-billing is strictly restricted to the VAT registered supplies only, and again it has to be done between the depending upon the arrangements and the agreement between both the parties, between both the VAT registered parties, and it won't be considered for the commercial invoices also. Earlier again there was a myth in the market that for the commercial invoices also we have to generate the self-billing, but no, that we don't have to do. Okay, self-billing would be completely depending upon the agreement between both the parties. Then the data storage and archival rules. Earlier it was again news into the market that the data archiving has to be done within the UAE regions, and again it has to be the complete solution has to be hosted into the UAE regions. But now FTA has clearly mentioned, okay, as per the Article 11, the data can be outside the UAE borders. But here we have seen, when we are talking about the big businesses, the finances, the finance companies, the banks, or other industries also, they have preferred that they would be requiring their data within the UAE borders itself. They don't want that any kind of data, any kind of PI would be going outside the UAE, right? So for that purpose, we have taken the servers within the UAE itself. And again, it is a requirement that the system architecture must guarantee that the FTA can promptly retrieve and access all records in fully readable format upon demand. So earlier, it was again there was news into the market that the XML, in case FTA is asking for any kind of audit in future, right? So they would be asking for the XMLs only. But now there might be a chance that they can ask for the PDFs also, okay, to match that whether the data that you are maintaining into the electronic XML format, whether it is matching with the PDF, that particular PDF or not. And whatever the ITC would be claimed in the future, whether you are claiming that particular ITC into the form of the PDF or the data available in the PDF or the data available into the XML format. So for that purpose, FTA can ask for the PDFs also at any point of time once this complete UAE invoicing framework will be settled in the market. Now, if we talk about the responsibilities that which team, when we are talking about the complete implementation of the UAE invoicing, right? So there are some responsibilities that we have to define between the ASP also, between the entities of finance or tax team also, and between the operations and legals also, right? So on the basis of that, we have tried to create one RESI matrix, a basic RESI matrix, in which when we are talking about the ASP requirement, then we have to update all the endpoints. Okay, we have to provide the dummy endpoints to the client team for the deemed supplies, for the export, and for the phase 2 customers, right? Again, the responsibility of the ASP would be the creation of the mandatory UUID generation. Then whatever the invoices we would be receiving, whatever the invoices we would be fetching from the ERP system, depending upon what kind of integration we are doing, be it API, or be it SFTP, or be it based on the connectors or the database itself. On the basis of that, whatever the invoices we would be fetching from your ERP system, it would be responsibility of the ASP only to convert them into the required XML format by the PEPAL and by the FTA. Now, in the same way, when we're talking about the finance and tax team responsibility, so whatever the endpoints which has been provided by the ASP or the dummy endpoints has been provided by the ASPs, okay, those particular dummy points, they have to configure it within the ERP itself. Okay, whatever the PEPAL IDs, we have to collate for the customers and the vendors also. We have to maintain it in the master data itself. Okay, whatever the RCM logics which has been provided from the FTA side, they have to update that particular logic within the ERP system. Okay, and whatever the logics the clients would be using within their ERP system to maintain the invoice data, Like for example, if we take the example of the SAP itself, so in the SAP we have seen that many of the clients are picking the data from the custom tables and from the custom fields itself. So that particular logic we would be requiring to get the all the master data within the solution itself. Okay, then again we have to identify, we have that particular finance and tax team have to do the identification of all the use case scenarios and the linkage of the invoices and credit notes, or you have to provide it the logic to link the invoice and credit notes within the ERP itself, so that whatever the credit notes we would be receiving, okay, and whatever the standard invoices again the for those particular credit notes earlier we would be receiving, we would be able to link that easily. Now, if we talk about the operations or the legal team or any other IT teams of the company of that particular businesses also, so they need to identify or to verify the free zone beneficiary data capture workflows as per the new update which has been shared from the FTA side. Okay, we have to define the beneficiary details, so it would be the responsibility of the operations or the legal team for that who would be the beneficiary for that particular transaction. Again, accordingly we have to see that whether the that particular team has to see that whether the solution is actually catering their requirement or not, depending upon what kind of hosting that particular ASP will be providing. Whatever the servers the ASP has been providing, they are actually catering the requirement of that particular scalability or the transaction volume of that particular, depending upon the transaction volume of that particular entity or not. Whether the complete audit trail is available for the invoices also, and whatever the PDFs that they would be receiving for the phase two customers, or they would be creating for the phase two customers, right? So that particular audit trail they have to maintain, or they have to see that whether it is available or not as per the requirement of the entities. So as we have already earlier mentioned that Jan 2027 is the first Jan 2027 is the mandatory date where the e-invoicing has to be started for the entities having turnover more than 50 million dirhams. And again, we have to see whether that particular ASP has the capability to generate the UUID or not for all the transactions, whether the ERP configurations are correct or not. Again, it would become a responsibility of the ASP also, that whatever the enhancements on the configurations has been done within the ERP itself related to the FTA invoicing requirement, whether even they are correct or not, and whatever the logics has been provided from the entities team side or the business team, the IT team, whether they are correct or not and successfully incorporated within the solution or not. And again, they have to see that the actual procurement and the tax team transitions, that how the basically we have to see that how the complete purchase processing would be working now. Because earlier there was a process where the businesses used to receive the purchase invoices over the email, over the supplier portal, and over the uh, through and or the physical PDF also. But from now onwards, there would be only one source of receiving the purchase invoices, which is again a PayPal framework. Whatever the purchase invoices has been received from the corner three, those purchase invoices will be considered for the input tax credit purpose from the July 2027 itself. Right. So again, there can be a automated reconciliation can be created within the ERP system also, where the two-way reconciliation and the three-way reconciliation can be there with the PO and the GRN. And even although PDF is not mandatory to share it with the customers, okay, or to receive it from the vendors, but still there would be a processes in many of the businesses that they have to issue the PDF invoices, or they have to require a PDF invoices to clear the bill. In that case also, the companies can or the businesses can do the reconciliation between the XML that they have received and between the PDF that they are receiving over the supplier portal, over the email, or the in the physical mode of the PDF also. Right. So so now all the updates has been actually covered. In case if there is any query related to the updates, then the attendees can ask into the Q&A session. Now we can start with the demo of our solution, that how it would be looking. And there is a news in the market that soon FTA is going to announce the list of the approved service providers. Okay, so we would like to know that in future how the onboarding has to be done is going to be done into the Emaratex portal. So this is the Cygnet application. This application can be logged in with by using the multi-factor authentication also. And again, we have the single sign-on functionality also to log in on this application, depending upon the client requirement that what kind of security they would be looking for to use this application, and the data would not be going outside the entity's environment, or there would be no unauthenticated sign or the unauthorized users of this application itself. So now once we log in on this application, the business would be able to see a basic, first of all, the statistics. Then first of all, there would be a user manual to how to use the system, then what would be the other offerings, and what would be the notifications would be coming from the FTA side. And then there would be a basic details that how many data has been actually uploaded, how many of them are still in process, and how many of them has been successfully generated. With that basic details, we have the BI dashboard also. So whatever the data we would be ingesting in this application for the sales e-invoice, and whatever the data we would be receiving as a corner 3 of the purchase e-invoice, on the basis of that, the management would be able to see the complete BI dashboard for the sales summary also, the purchase summary also, the sales bifurcation, the purchase bifurcation, depending upon all the sales and purchase invoices, this dashboard would be available, which is actually a configurable dashboard. In case as we are available into the multiple countries, and again, we are going to be invoicing service provider into another countries also, like the Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, right? So the same application will be used for the multi-country invoicing also. On the basis of that, the businesses would be able to see their country-wise sales bifurcation and the country-wise purchase bifurcation. But if the businesses are using it for a single country, then here the business would be able to see the entity-wise sales bifurcation and the entity-wise purchase bifurcation. Now, to use this application, we have to do a one-time exercise of onboarding the entities like this. So now to onboard the entities, we have the import functionality also, where in the Excel format, the businesses can add the multiple entities for the onboarding purpose. And we have the manual option also, where once we'll add the entity, we'll select the entity here. Okay. We'll select the parent entity name, and then the entity name. Then we would be selecting the country. Here we would be selecting the UAE. Now, once we'll click on the AE, the remaining tabs would be open, like to add the details like the tax registration number, the TIN number, the financial year. Then we have to select the data transmission mode, as we are using the tax authority and PayPal. In this complete 5-corner model, we have to transmit our invoices over the PayPal framework. So for that purpose, we have to do the PayPal onboarding. In the same way, we have to report it to the tax authority also using the PayPal framework. So we have to do the onboarding over the Imara Tax Portal also. So for that purpose, we would be selecting the PayPal and Tax Authority both here. Now, once we'll select both the options, both the checkbox, okay, you will see the PayPal onboarding would be done from this application itself. Any of the businesses or any of the end user don't have to go on any other platform. Okay, from the single platform only, from the single application only, the PayPal onboarding also will be happening, and onboarding over the Imara Tax Portal also is going to be done. So now for the UAE, we have to select the participant ID, which is A10. Okay, and again, you can see the UAE code 0235 is there, and then we have to add the TIN number. Okay, in case of group TRN, every entity would be having their TIN number. If it is not there, then they have to apply it from the FTA side. But in case if we talk about the businesses having corporate tax registration number only, then they have to pick the first 10 digit of that particular corporate tax registration number and have to edit here. Then again, we have to select the capabilities, the document receiving capabilities, that these kind of documents we would be able to receiving. Right, you just have to select that, and then the email address and mobile number for any kind of e-invoice notification, then the address details. Now, once we'll click on the save button, the portal, a new portal would be open, the Imara Tax platform, where you have to just log in with your email IDs, right, over your in your TRN number. Okay, then you just have to go to this e-invoicing button. You have to select that particular entity, and then you have to go to that e-invoicing tab. Now, once you will click on this e-invoicing tab, you just have to select your ASP like this. You have to select your ASP like this. Okay. Then you have to click on the tab, proceed with the ASP. Now, once you will click on that tab, a co-branded page of the Cygnet and the FTA will be open, where you have to enter the registered Imara email address, okay, the registered mobile number, and the TIN number of that particular entity. And once you will click on this verify applicant details, you just need to click on the submit button. And again, we'll be coming to our application ASP solution, right, where you would be able to see that particular entity has been successfully registered over the Imara Tax portal also, and over to the PayPal also. With that particular status would be available here. Right now, entities has been onboarded. Now we have to define the users for that. Okay, you have to create the sub users for that. So you would be able to do it from this user section. You would be able to align the entities also for that particular user, so that the user of the first entity won't be able to see the data of another entity. So you would be able to select the entities also for that purpose. And then we have the roles also, that which user would be able to create the e-invoice, which user would be able to download the data, would be able to search, import or the any kind of requirement. Whatever the roles we have seen from, or we have heard from requirement from we have from the prospect or from the client, right? All those roles and responsibilities we have defined within this role section itself. So as per the requirement of the businesses, they can assign the roles to their end users itself. Now the entity has been onboarded. Now we have this document section. The question is how the data is going to come up with this application. So for that purpose, we have the three modes for importing the data into this application. First, the portal itself, where we have provided the Excel import functionality to import the entities, to import the document, to import the business partners, and to import the product also. Okay, so we can directly download the Excel file, on which we just have to input the data, and then we have to import it within the application itself. Then we have the other methods also, like the API method. Now, if we are talking about the direct integration with the ERPs itself, so if we talk about the global ERPs like the SAP, Oracle Dynamics, Oracle EBS Fusion, or the Dynamics Business Center and the FNO, by using the API integration, and again there would be some other ERPs also which can support the API integration. So by using those APIs, we would be able to import the data within this application itself for the sales. Okay, then we have the data exchanger, means the SFTP method or the file-based method, on the basis of which we would be able to get the data in this application. In case if there is any validation error or any kind of data is not available within that particular invoices or within that particular file, then we would be able to show you that error also like this, where you just have to download that particular Excel. Okay, and then you would be able to see that whatever the error we would be receiving with any kind of invoices, you would be able to see. Then that particular error can be modified either at the ERP level, or if we are having the integration with the ERPs, or we are having the uploading the invoices directly over the Excel format, then the end user would be able to see errors like that. Right, and even whatever the status we would be receiving, whether it is a success status or the error status or the success records, right, all those particular data they would be able to see within this application itself. With that, we have seen that there might be a chance that when we are doing with the integration, or the integration is actually completed with the ERP system, and we are successfully getting the data from the ERP, but due to some connectivity issue or due to some another reason, any kind of failover, the ERP is not working. So for that purpose itself, we have provided the functionality to import the invoices in this application by using the Excel functionality. But if we are talking about the 1 or 2 invoices only, then we have this create document section like this, that from this application itself, the end user would be able to create the invoices. Now, once the sales data has been successfully come up into this application, the end user would be able to see the data like this. even if they want to see the data, if they want to view the data, because in this complete report, we would be able to view the header details. But if the end user wants to see the each and every detail of that particular invoice, they just have to click on this invoice number tab, and then they would be able to see all the details. Even the line level details also, they would be able to see it within this application. Now, if we are talking about the integration with the ERP, then the complete process would be automated, where the data has been come up into this application. From this application, it is going to over the PayPal framework and reporting it to the FTA. End user won't be using this application. But if we are talking about the semi-automation part, where the businesses are saying that no, we don't want the complete automation, we want it to be a semi-automation. First, we would be reviewing the invoices within this application, then only we would be sending it to the over the PayPal framework and report it to the FTA. Then for that purpose, we have provided the functionality to select the invoices or either one by one or bulk, or then we can click on the button that generates submit to authority and the PayPal framework. Once it would be transmitted over the PayPal framework and reported to the authority, it would be showing you the status as a delivered. But in case if there is any error, okay, then the auto pop-up would be available in this particular application. And once if the end user is not available on the application itself right now, then once they will open this application, they just have to click on this red button on this failed status, and the end user would be able to see the complete status of the error. And all those errors we have added in this application would be understandable by the end user. We didn't use any kind of technical language in that particular part. All the functional language is there, so that end user would be able to will be able to understand easily that what kind of error is there and what are the data is missing from that particular invoice. In the same way, whatever the purchase invoices we would be receiving as a corner 3, okay, all those purchase invoices would be available in this application itself. And to see to visible that, what we have done is we have done what intercompany transaction itself of that particular invoice, the A-004, okay, which is actually has been generated against within the same entity, okay, sorry, within the group TRN, but the different entity for the RWA receiver. Now, once we have clicked on this particular button and we have clicked on the generate submit to authority people, this invoice, once it would be successful and all the validations would be covered up from the PayPal side on as per the PayPal API, this invoice will be automatically start visible into this purchase section. Because again, as an intercompany transaction, as an RWA receiver, for the RWA receiver entity, we have received that invoice as a corner 3. And again, if you want to see that particular details of all those of that particular invoice, you just need to click on that and you would be able to see all the details here. Right? In the same way, whatever the purchase invoices, the local purchase invoices we would be receiving from the another vendors who are on the PayPal framework, all those purchase invoices, the end user would be able to see within the same application. And again, if we are doing the integration with the ERP, in that case, all those purchase invoices can be parked within the ERP system itself by using the API integration and the SFTP integration for the parking purpose. After this, end user can define how they want to proceed with the reconciliation and the posting purposes. Okay. Again, with that, we have provided the functionality also to import the purchase invoices, whatever the purchase invoices available in the ERP system, right? Those purchase invoices also can be uploaded within this application. Why we have done is, we have created the omni channel for all kind of purchase invoices. Whatever the purchase invoices we are receiving over the email, over the supplier portal, or whatever the purchase invoices we are receiving over the XML format, or as a corner 3, all those invoices the clients would be able to see within the same application itself. And on the basis of that, the end user would be able to do the reconciliation also, that whatever the reconciliation, whatever the invoices has been available into the ERP system, we have this reconciliation tab, purchase versus PayPal versus tax authority. So whatever the purchase invoices that you have received within the ERP, you would be able to see it here like this. Okay, with that, whatever the PayPal status and the FTA status we are receiving, on the basis of that, this complete reconciliation program would be available within this single application itself, like this. Okay, so it would be like again the PayPal, the tax authority, and purchase. So depending upon whatever the status we are receiving from the tax authority or from the any of the corner itself, on the basis of that, we have created this reconciliation solution. With that, we have the vendor-wise reconciliation also. Okay, for if you want to do a invoice reconciliation for any of the particular vendor, you just have to click here and all the invoices would be available for that particular vendor like this. After that, we have some other reports also, that how many documents has been actually sent and how many documents have actually received over the corner 2 and corner 3. Then we have the audit trail report. The invoice wise audit trail report would be available. With that, we have the user access management also, the every kind of logs we would be creating within this application itself, that how many users has been actually created, which user is accessing the application, and what roles has been assigned to that, what kind of for that particular user. All those activities would be available within this application itself. Then we have the data activities log also, that how much data actually has been pushed into this application, then the sync, then the field callbacks also. Now there can be a scenario where the invoices has been pushed to the corner to or pushed to the ASP solution from the ERP system, but somehow some sort of validation error is there. Okay. Or there might be a chance that the corner that your ASP has received the invoice as the purchase invoice, the local purchase invoice as a corner 3, but somehow the end user is not available there for the pay on the system for the payment purpose, or for the posting purpose, or for the reconciliation purpose. So for that purpose, we have provided the functionality to send the notifications over the email ID to those particular end users, or to the group of the users, where once we'll click on this invoice notifications button. So once the invoice would be generated, okay, the modes are there. The email you can receive, the PDFs you can receive over the email, and the attached signed XML in the email you can receive with the same. In the same way, we have the purchase notifications also. Whatever the purchase notification we would be receiving as a corner 3, you would be able to see that particular. You just have to click there, and the particular notifications would be coming up into your entered email IDs. And here you can add the multiple email IDs by putting the comma separators. Then in case if there is any failed transactions, in case of any errors, for the same way, you would be able to see the notifications for those particular error transactions also. Then we have the security settings also, that if you want to restrict the user to the single role or the change username, if you want to put the password, the maximum time for the password expiry or the password strength, you would be able to do all the things as per the business requirement within this application itself. Now with that, we are providing the standard solution also. Okay, the standard PDF format also, where in case for the phase to customers, we have to share the PDF, right? So for that purpose, we have provided this functionality to create the standard PDF, where the end user would be able to change the header, would be able to add the logos of their own company. Okay, and then with that, we have provided the email subject line also, then the account details, all the each and every details the end user would be able to edit here. Okay, with that, there would be some 10 custom fields also, in case if they want to put any kind of note, any kind of payment terms, then they would be able to use this custom field for that purpose. So that's how a complete e-invoicing application would be working. Okay, and the same application can be work at the global level also for the multiple countries. So now we can start with the Q&A session, if there is any. So we have one query where that once registered with a certain ASP, can a customer change the ASP, and how painful is the process? How long does it take? So for that purpose, we have that particular functionality, although we won't let any of our clients to leave us, but still we have that particular functionality where the deboarding of the ASPs can be done easily, and it won't be so that much painful. that won't be that much painful. With that, we would be helping them into the exit process also, that whatever the data we would be having within the UAE region, or if they are using the on cloud solution of the Cygnet, then we would be helping them to provide that particular data backup also.
Just one point I wanted to add to what you do that. Okay, it's like impossible to onboard or deboard from a one ASP to the other ASP, but the data points or the kind of MLS and TDD information that will be there with the ASP, you need to ensure that you take it into your backup, because whenever the audits may come in from the tax authority, that information definitely will be required by you. So that's very, very important. And there's another question also, okay, are this platform that doesn't have the facility to register directly via the ASP platform? I think FT has mandated that all the platforms should have a facility to register via the ASP, and that is exactly what they have tested. So that is something which is important from the FTE point of view.
Yes.
How to integrate? See, Tally is going to come up with their own solution. How to integrate it with Tally ERP9? Tally is going to come up with their own solution, and we are also trying to work with Tally, by which we can provide their solution also to the client. So that is something in the progress. And if you have a multi ERP systems, and Tally being one of them, then you can kind of reach out to us. We can guide you how to handle that better.
Thank you everyone for your time, and a big thank you to Neeraj sir and Dipesh. I hope this session was insightful for you all. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out. Once again, thank you everyone. Have a great day. I'll be ending the
Thank
session.
you. Have a great day. Thanks.